Let's start with the truth nobody wants to say out loud. You are going to spend a significant portion of your life dealing with people who operate at a level of reasoning, awareness, and basic competence that is genuinely beneath what the situation requires. Not people who are different from you. Not people whose values you disagree with. Not people who simply have a different style or approach. People who are genuinely, functionally limited in their ability to think clearly, anticipate consequences, understand complexity, or update their beliefs when presented with new information. And the question, the real, practical, daily question, is not whether this is fair. It is not whether it should be this way. It is not even how to fix them. The question is, how do you operate effectively in a world full of people like this without becoming bitter, without wasting your best energy, without descending into contempt that corrodes you from the inside, and without making costly errors in your own behavior that you blame on them, but were actually yours to control? Machiavelli dealt with this problem at the highest possible level. He advised princes, negotiated with foreign powers, managed courts full of people whose self-interest overrode their reason on a daily basis, and he built a complete framework for operating effectively among people whose limitations would sink anyone who failed to account for them. Today, we go through that framework fully, without the softening that makes this kind of advice useless. Part 1. The first and most important reframe. Before any technique, before any strategy, before anything practical, you need to change the way you think about this problem. Because right now, if you are honest, you are probably framing it like this. There are smart people and there are stupid people. I am in the first group. The second group is the problem I need to solve. That frame is going to make everything harder, not because it is factually wrong in every case, but because it positions you as a passive victim of other people's limitations, rather than an active agent responsible for how you navigate them. And Machiavelli would tell you immediately, any frame in which you are the passive victim of circumstances is a frame that will produce weak strategy and poor outcomes. Here is the reframe. Every person in your life is operating at the limits of their current capability, awareness, and information. So are you. The difference between you and them is not a fixed categorical distinction between smart and stupid. It is a difference in specific capabilities that matters in specific contexts. The person who cannot follow a complex logical argument may be extraordinarily skilled at reading people, at physical work, at navigating social dynamics that your over-analytical mind misses entirely. The person whose reasoning frustrates you may be operating from a completely coherent internal logic that simply has different inputs than yours. This is not an invitation to pretend that everyone is equally capable of everything. They are not. It is an invitation to stop treating other people's limitations as a personal offense directed at you, and start treating them as a feature of the landscape you are navigating. Machiavelli writes about terrain. A general does not get angry at a swamp for being a swamp. He does not try to convince the swamp that it should be a road. He maps the swamp, plans his route accordingly, and moves through the landscape as it actually is, rather than as he wishes it were. The people in your life who frustrate you are terrain. Map them. Plan accordingly. Move. The anger and contempt and exhaustion you currently spend on wishing they were different. That energy belongs to your strategy. Reclaim it. Part 2. The taxonomy of limitation. Not all frustrating people are the same, and treating them as the same produces consistently poor results. Machiavelli was obsessed with accurate categorization. He writes constantly about the importance of identifying what type of problem you are actually dealing with, because the solution that works for one type of problem will fail completely when applied to a different type. There are 4 categories of people whose limitations create friction in your life. They require completely different responses. The first category, the genuinely uninformed. This person appears foolish because they do not have information you have. Their reasoning is not defective. Their conclusions follow logically from their premises. The problem is that their premises are wrong or incomplete. This is the most benign category and the one most often misidentified as stupidity. The genuinely uninformed person is not frustrating because they cannot think. They are frustrating because they are confident in conclusions built on inadequate information. and that confidence makes them resistant to correction. The Machiavellian response to this person is investment, where the investment yields return. If this person matters to your outcomes, if their beliefs or decisions will affect your life in meaningful ways, then the work of updating their information is worth doing. Not to be kind, because it is strategically sensible to replace incorrect premises with correct ones in the minds of people who make decisions that affect you. If this person does not matter to your outcomes, if their uninformed view will have no meaningful effect on your life, then the investment is not worth making. You let them hold their wrong view, you route around its effects, and you spend your energy on things that return something. The critical discipline is the honest assessment of which situation you are actually in. Most intelligent people overinvest in correcting people who are in the second situation because the wrongness is irritating and the correction urge is strong. Resist it. The irritation is not a strategic reason to spend resources. The second category, the cognitively rigid. This person has information. In fact, they often have a great deal of information, but their capacity to update their beliefs in response to new information is severely limited. They are not uninformed, they are locked. New evidence gets processed in a specific way, it gets filtered through the existing belief, and if it does not fit, it gets rejected or reinterpreted until it does fit. Their worldview is a closed system. This is the most common source of profound frustration for genuinely flexible thinkers. Because the conversation looks like it should work. They have information, you have information, you share information, they should update, and it does not work, and it never works, no matter how much evidence you bring. Machiavelli writes about the futility of trying to change a man's fundamental nature through argument. He is explicit that certain dispositions cannot be reasoned with, not because the person is stupid, but because the architecture of their thinking simply does not process incoming information the way flexible minds do. The Machiavellian response to the cognitively rigid person is to stop trying to change their mind and start working with their existing frame. You cannot update the frame from outside, but you can often accomplish your actual objective by presenting what you need in terms that fit inside the frame they already have. You need them to approve a new approach. They will not approve it because it is new. So you present it as a variation on an existing approach they already approve of. You frame the novel as familiar, the change as continuity. You got what you needed. Their frame did not have to change for it to happen. This is not deception, it is translation. You translated your objective into a language their cognitive architecture can process, and your objective is achieved. The third category, the strategically incompetent. This person is intelligent in many ways, but in some specific domain, management, planning, financial thinking, social dynamics, technical execution, they are genuinely incompetent, and critically, they do not know it. They believe they are performing adequately or above adequately in the domain where they are actually failing. This is the Dunning-Kruger territory, the specific and painful combination of incompetence and confidence. This person is the most dangerous of the four categories because they make decisions with confidence in domains where their confidence is not warranted, and those decisions affect people around them, including you. The Machiavellian response here is the most complex. First, you map the exact domains of their incompetence with precision, not general stupidity, specific failures in specific areas. Second, you quietly compensate where compensation is possible. You build the structure they should have built but did not. You identify the failure points before they become crises and address them without making the address visible. You become the silent architecture that makes their incompetent leadership look more functional than it is. This sounds like thankless work. Sometimes it is, but Machiavelli understood something about this position. The person who makes an incompetent leader look functional becomes indispensable to that leader, and indispensable is a form of power that operates quietly and durably. Third, and this is the part most people miss, you document. Not for retaliation, for clarity. You keep a clear, private record of decisions made, recommendations offered, outcomes that followed. Not to blame the incompetent person publicly, to protect yourself when the inevitable failure arrives, and to be ready to step into the space it creates. The fourth category, the willfully obstructive. This person is not limited. They are not uninformed. They are not locked. They are not incompetent. They understand exactly what is being proposed and they oppose it, not because it is wrong, because it does not serve them. They perform limitation as a strategy. They ask questions they know the answers to in order to waste time. They request revisions they do not actually need in order to delay. They introduce complexity they do not actually see in order to create doubt. This person is not a stupidity problem. They are a power problem. And Machiavelli is absolutely clear on this. You do not respond to a power problem with patience, with better explanations, with more evidence, with goodwill. You respond to a power problem with power, not aggression, not confrontation for its own sake, but the clear-eyed recognition that this person is a strategic obstacle, and obstacles require strategic responses, not conversational ones. Map their interests. Identify what they actually want. Find the version of your objective that gives them enough of what they want that continued opposition becomes more costly than cooperation. Or identify who has power over them and make your case there. Or build enough independent momentum behind your objective that their opposition becomes irrelevant. One of those three, not a fourth attempt at persuasion. Part 3, the energy economy. This is the section that will change your daily life more than any other. You have a fixed amount of cognitive and emotional energy available to you each day. Every interaction that frustrates you, every attempt to explain something that is not understood, every circular conversation that goes nowhere, every moment of contempt or irritation or bewilderment at another person's limitations. That is a withdrawal from the account. And most intelligent people are making enormous unstrategic withdrawals from this account on a daily basis. They are spending high-quality cognitive energy on low-yield interactions. They are depleting their reserves explaining things to people who will not update. They are burning emotional resources being frustrated by problems that were predictable and could have been planned for. Machiavelli writes about the economy of a prince's resources, specifically the danger of the prince who depletes his treasury on campaigns that do not advance his objectives. The principle is identical. Your energy is your treasury. Every interaction is a campaign. The question before every interaction is, what is the expected return on this expenditure? Here is how to run this economy. Before you invest energy in dealing with a frustrating person or situation, ask one question. Is this within my control or outside my control? If the person's limitation is outside your control, and most of them are, the only strategic energy expenditure is in managing your response to it, routing around its effects, or removing it from your operational environment where possible. Any energy spent trying to change what is outside your control is waste. If the effect of the person's limitation is within your control, and the effects often are, even when the limitation itself is not, then the strategic energy expenditure is in managing the effect, not lamenting the cause. You cannot make the swamp a road, but you can plan a route that does not require crossing the swamp, and you can conserve the energy you would have spent being frustrated by the swamp for the things that actually matter. Part 4, the specific techniques. Let's get precise. Here are the specific behavioral techniques Machiavelli's framework produces for daily navigation of human limitation. Technique 1, the short loop. Most frustrating interactions last far longer than they need to. They last long because intelligent people engage with full depth. They try to understand the other person completely, explain themselves completely, reach genuine mutual understanding completely. With people whose limitations prevent genuine mutual understanding, this is a waste. The short loop is the discipline of identifying the minimum viable outcome of any interaction and stopping once that outcome is achieved. You do not need them to understand everything. You need them to take the specific action or hold the specific information that your objective requires. Identify that minimum. Achieve that minimum. Exit. The rest, the full understanding, the genuine agreement, the shared appreciation of complexity, is not available in this interaction. Let it go. Take the minimum viable outcome and use your remaining energy on something that returns more. Technique 2. The preemption. Most frustrating interactions with limited people are predictable in advance. You know this person. You know their patterns. You know that if the situation unfolds normally, they will do the thing that produces the frustrating outcome. The frustration-creating thing is predictable. So why are you still surprised by it? The Machiavellian response is preemption. You do not wait for the predictable problem to occur and then manage it. You identify it in advance and remove it before it can manifest. If this person always misunderstands the third step of any process, you restructure the process so the third step cannot be misunderstood. You do not explain it more clearly. You remove the misunderstanding opportunity entirely. If this person always introduces a specific objection at a specific point, you address that objection before they can raise it in your opening, before they have had the chance to frame it as an objection. If this person always fails to deliver what they promised by the deadline, you build a buffer into every deadline you give them and treat their promised date as fictional. Preemption requires accepting the frustrating truth about the person. They are going to do the thing. They always do the thing. You are not going to change that. Given that, how do you build a system that produces your desired outcome without depending on them not doing the thing? That is the question. That is the work. Technique 3. The strategic concession. Most arguments with limited people are not about truth. They are about territory. The limited person who is wrong about something and is told they are wrong does not update their belief. They defend their territory. The argument is not producing truth. It is producing entrenched positions. The Machiavellian technique is to concede the territory that does not matter in order to advance on the territory that does. You find something in their position to agree with. Something real, not flattery, not false agreement, something genuinely valid in what they have said. You acknowledge it clearly. You give them that ground. And then from that position of having genuinely heard them and genuinely conceded something real, you introduce the one thing you actually need. They are no longer defending. You gave them something. The defensive posture relaxes. The specific thing you actually needed has a chance to land. You did not win the argument. You advanced your objective. The distinction matters. Machiavelli is clear that winning arguments with people who cannot be reasoned with is not a goal. Advancing your actual objective despite their limitations is the goal. These are different things. Keep them separate. Technique 4. The extended timeline. One of the most reliable features of the cognitively limited person in positions of decision-making authority is that they resist change. The new thing, regardless of its merit, is threatening. The unfamiliar requires more processing than they want to allocate. The complex requires more trust in your judgment than they have established. The instinct of the intelligent person is to push harder, to explain more clearly, to demonstrate the obvious merit more thoroughly. This almost never works, and it creates resistance. The Machiavellian technique is to extend your timeline and introduce your objective gradually across multiple interactions in doses that do not trigger the resistance response. In the first interaction, you plant the idea as a question, not a proposal. You ask what they think about a concept. They are not being asked to decide. They are being asked to think. The threat level is low. In the second interaction, you reference that idea again in a different context. They have now encountered it twice. Familiarity is beginning to form. In subsequent interactions, the idea becomes more familiar, more their own, more something they have been thinking about rather than something being pushed on them. By the time you make the formal proposal, they encounter something they recognize, something that has been present in their thinking. The resistance has been dissolved not through argument, but through time and repetition and the gradual naturalization of the unfamiliar. Machiavelli calls this the preparation of the ground. The harvest is only possible after the ground has been prepared. The prince who plants and immediately demands the harvest does not understand farming, and dealing with limited people in positions of authority is farming. Plant, wait, tend, harvest at the right time. Part 5. The internal practice. Everything we have discussed so far is external strategy, how you operate around other people's limitations. This section is about what you do with what happens inside you, because the most intelligent people are often the ones most corroded by this problem. Not because their lives are harder than others, but because the gap between what they see should be possible and what they actually encounter daily in meeting rooms and family dinners and bureaucratic processes produces a specific kind of despair. The despair of the person who can see clearly and is surrounded by people who cannot or will not. Machiavelli felt this. He writes about it in his private letters with a rawness that does not appear in The Prince. He describes the frustration of watching Florence make the same errors he had warned against, of being right and being irrelevant, of having clarity and no one willing to act on it. And his response, not his public response, his private, honest, personal response, is something every intelligent person dealing with this problem needs to read. He says, "I will not be defeated by the gap between what should be and what is. I will work with what is, not acceptance of mediocrity, not surrender of standards, not pretending the limitations are not real, but the deliberate daily practice of refusing to be imprisoned by the gap between your vision and your reality. The contempt you feel for the person who cannot think clearly, it does not hurt them. It hurts you. It burns the energy you need for your own work. It creates a bitterness that, over time, becomes a lens through which everything is colored. The intelligent person who becomes chronically contemptuous of human limitation has allowed the limitation of others to become a limitation in themselves. That is the deepest irony, and Machiavelli would point it out without mercy. Your job is not to be angry at the swamp. Your job is to get to the other side. Part 6, the discipline of selective investment. There is one more thing. You are not obligated to engage fully with every person in your environment. This sounds obvious. In practice, it is almost never applied consistently. Most intelligent people operate with an implicit belief that every person who presents a problem deserves their full engagement. That walking away from a solvable problem, even a low-return one, is a failure of duty or intelligence. It is not. Machiavelli writes about the prince who cannot be everywhere, whose attention is finite, who must make decisions about where his focus goes and where it does not, and who understands that the decision to not engage is as strategic as the decision to engage. You have a small number of interactions in any given period that will genuinely matter to your outcomes. Those deserve your full intelligence, your full energy, your complete attention. The rest, the low-yield, high-friction, limited return interactions that most people engage with at full power, deserve a different allocation. The minimum viable response, the short loop, the preemption, the strategic concession that takes 30 seconds and ends the interaction. Reserve your full intelligence for the people and problems that deserve it. Not because the others do not matter as human beings, but because the intelligent person who depletes their best resources on the lowest return interactions has made a strategic error that compounds over time. You will arrive at your most important conversations and decisions having spent the best of yourself on things that did not warrant it. Machiavelli watched this destroy brilliant men repeatedly, men of genuine capability who exhausted themselves on the wrong campaigns, who saved nothing for the moment that required everything. Do not be that person. Know where your best goes. Protect it. Deploy it deliberately. Closing. Here is the honest summary. You are going to spend your life surrounded by people who operate at various levels of limitation. That will not change. What can change is the relationship you have with that fact. The relationship that makes you better, clearer, more effective, less depleted, is the one Machiavelli built over a career of navigating the most frustratingly limited decision makers in Renaissance Europe, and still producing some of the clearest strategic thinking in the history of human civilization. Map the terrain. Do not argue with the swamp. Categorize accurately. Different limitations require different responses. Run the energy economy. Reserve your best for what deserves it. Preempt the predictable. Stop being surprised by patterns. Take the minimum viable outcome. Stop requiring full understanding where full understanding is not available. Prepare the ground for what you need. Stop demanding immediate harvest. And Mehri, this is the most important one. Do not let other people's limitations become yours. The contempt, the bitterness, the exhausted cynicism. Those are the most dangerous consequences of dealing with limited people. Not because the limited people put them there, because you allowed the frustration to settle and harden and become a permanent feature of how you see the world. Machiavelli saw clearly. He remained clear. He did not let the frustration cloud the lens. Keep the lens clean. That is how smart people deal with stupid people without losing their mind. Not by fixing them, by refusing to be diminished by them. The next video in this series covers exactly how to identify the type of person you are dealing with in the first 5 minutes of any interaction, and how to set your strategy before the conversation begins rather than during it. If this gave you something useful, share it with someone who needs it. I will see you in the next one.